Next, let's talk a little bit about the visa requirements. So there's 3 types of visas you can get to Vietnam. The first type will be your tourist visa, and this can either be for 30 days or 90 days, depending on how long you want to stay. And this can be renewed every 90 days. However, it's not guaranteed, so don't just think that you can renew it indefinitely. If you want to stay long-term, it's better to look at some of our long-term visas. Another option will be a business visa. If you're doing any type of business in Vietnam where you have a Vietnamese company to sponsor you, you can apply for a business visa, and that will allow you a little bit longer stay, maybe 3 to 6 months or more, depending on your business. The last type of visa that you can get is an investor's visa. So if you're making significant investment in Vietnam of $120,000 or more, you may qualify for a investor's visa. So there's a few different pathways. I have a temporary resident card, which you can get if you're working here. You can get a work permit from your school or from your job, your entity that is sponsoring you. Get your work permit, and then once you have a work permit, you can then go ahead and get a resident card. It's a little bit of a process to get that resident card because you have to get a health check, a police check. You have to have your landlord to give you the residency registration for the house. And sometimes the landlord is not a legal landlord, so they can't give you what you need to get your resident card. So it's a bit of a process. It can take a few months, but once you have that work permit, you can go ahead and get that temporary resident card. So depending on how long you want to stay, what's your plan for employment, there are many different options for you to get over here and to stay over here. Before you get over here, you should set up a little bit of a budget for yourself. Some things to consider would be the flight. That's probably the biggest thing. Your flight from America could cost you upwards of $1,500 or more. You'll also want to have money for your rent. It's also going to include a deposit and maybe 1 to 2 months worth of rent. So if your rent is $500, you may be asked to put up $1,500 up front. So you also need to prepare money for visa runs. In case you're on a tourist visa, you may need to catch a flight to Thailand or Malaysia. So keep some funds in mind for that. Also consider your furniture and appliances. When you move to a new place, your Airbnb may have furniture and everything you need already. But if you want to rent a room that is of a lower cost, maybe it will not have furniture. So you can pay lower rent, but you will have to go ahead and furnish that unit, and that will be a significant investment up front. But depending on how long you stay there, you might be able to save a little money on the long term because you're paying lower for the monthly. And if you're not in a hurry when you leave, you should be able to sell that furniture and those appliances online. If you have a few weeks, post it on Facebook Marketplace, get that stuff sold, and keep it pushing. Also, you'll want to have some money set aside for your scooter. If you're trying to get around, you may either go by Grab, which can cost you a few dollars per trip, or you can go ahead and rent a bike, or you can go ahead and buy a bike. So I would recommend getting on a Grab first, and then when you're ready, you can rent a bike and then go ahead and buy one. But make sure that you have your license from the States. If you have your license and it's still valid, you can transfer that over to a Vietnamese driving license. Make sure you renew it before you come here, otherwise you'll have to go back to renew it. So make sure you have a valid license, and then you can get your license for over here. So those are some of the upfront costs that you need to keep in mind as you're budgeting and planning some expenses and fees. Consider what kind of lifestyle you want to live. How much do you want to spend every month? You could live very comfortably for $1,000 a month, or if you want to live like a local, you can spend $500 a month or less. So keep that in mind. It could be some time that you have to dip into your savings or your funds. So make sure that you have more than enough. Don't come out here struggling. I've seen some foreigners out here busking and panhandling, and that's not a good look. So just be prepared, have a plan, have a backup plan. What happens if things don't work out? You should have at least 3 to 6 months worth of expenses saved up as an emergency fund. And also make sure you can access your funds. You should have multiple accounts and inform your bank before you get out here that you'll be traveling, so that they don't freeze your account or think it's fraud. Okay, and you can also have an international account such as Citibank, HSBC, that have account offices here and also back home. If you're an investor, you can still use your accounts. If you have an online bank, you should be good. So make sure that you can access your funds while you're here. What should you pack for Vietnam? You should definitely bring any medications that you need, a good supply. Also have any specific toiletries that you need, any travel adapters or technology that you think might be hard to get over here. You'll also want to make sure you have some comfortable shoes, some comfortable weather suitable clothing. You can also buy more clothes in Vietnam. It's very cheap to get your clothes here. And things that you might miss from back home, like some snacks or other things like that. A couple essential documents that you gotta have: bring your passport, your visa approval letter, also some passport size photos. Also bring your academic and professional documents like your degree, any letter of references, your transcripts, and make sure that you get these notarized before you come here. Otherwise, you'll have to do it when you're here. You might be wondering what to do with all your stuff. Well, the first thing you should do is, if you're planning on coming back, think about how to store the stuff. If you can get an inexpensive storage unit, or you can ask a family member to help you store it, that will be an excellent choice. Otherwise, think about selling, downsizing, get rid of the stuff that you don't need, or donate it. Just get rid of it, throw it away, do whatever you have to do. Everything can be easily replaced here. And if not, find some family or friends or people at the church or people in the community that could use the things, and just leave it with them. If they need it, if they want it, just reduce your load. Don't try to bring a whole bunch of stuff over here. It's only going to be a burden trying to get it through customs and trying to pack everything and trying to move everything around from place to place, especially if you're in a temporary hotel or someplace when you land, and then you have to move it to a whole different location when you move. Less is more. Don't bring a whole bunch of stuff.